Good. Okay. I'm just gonna. I created a set of slides that are uh, deliberately different in color to my dad's and Anna's, just so I could add a bit of a spice to the proceedings. So I'm. Thank you everybody for joining us. It's really an honor. It's such a pleasure to have so many Swedes in the room. I personally have a very high opinion of Sweden. Not that I've ever been there. I don't know. I'm not exactly sure where that comes from. But welcome. Thank you so much for making the time, and all of our kind of South African colleagues. And if there's any other South Africans in the room, welcome. Thank you so much, and everybody from wherever else in the world you are. Um, uh, so I just want to say a very brief just introduction to our business and myself, and then I'm going to hand over to my dad, who's going to speak a little bit about care and growth. I would hope that all of you are familiar with, at least to some extent, with care and growth, although I'm sure that not all of you are. So I think I want to give my dad an opportunity just to set the context by explaining a bit about care and growth, and then we'll have Anna walk us through the rationale behind the book. Um, yeah, so I'm looking forward to that. So just a bit about me. So I'm Asad. I'm actually Echko's son. My name is Asad Schuitema, and I've now kind of taken the mantle of running the business, and so I have the burden on my shoulders, but I suppose I still have my dad to defer to in instances of challenge. So that's good for me. But as as a business, I mean, we're a consultancy. Schuitema is a consultancy, and I mean, we're a transformational consultancy, and we really specialize in helping organization build enabling cultures that bridge the gap between culture, like how we are, who we are, and how we treat each other, and business performance. And so, and really in line with that, I would say that our benevolent intent, it's something we work with, this whole notion of a benevolent intent, the contribution we make to the world out there. Our benevolent intent is to empower people to triumph as human beings, right? And I think this is really in line with our understanding of what culture is, because from our point of view, all culture transformation is actually aggregated personal transformation. You know, culture changes when people change. So we've really spent the last 3 decades understanding how to get aggregated shift across groups of people towards kind of a more noble way of living one's life and conducting one's business. So that's really who we are as a business, and just some of the. I mean, my dad started the business in 1989, which is the year I was born. So the business is as old as I am, which is amazing, right? So, and we have quite a track record, and so we've been in business. It's actually 32 years. Excuse me, now I should change that. It's not 30 years. It's 32 years. I'm not sure why I will fix that mistake. We've also worked all around the world. We've worked on 5 continents, 29 countries. We've worked with 300 plus clients, and that number is a bit hard to pin down, but it's steadily growing. Also, we've trained at least 200,000 employees on various kind of care and growth programs. Although again, it's a hard number to nail down, and sold approximately 150,000 care and growth books. Those are books that are both written by my dad and kind of care and growth books written by others that are exploring the same topic. And we've done roughly 55,000 surveys. But my hope is that Anna's book is going to add substantially to this number. Fingers crossed. Yeah. But I'm so delighted that we have an additional book. I mean, however many is sold, it's just that the idea that we work with is expanding and growing, I think is very exciting for us, and is very exciting for me personally. And I think, all this work we've been doing and all of the work we do really centers around the care and growth model. And it is my personal opinion that care and growth is something really quite special. And I mean, I think Anna will attest to it, and people who have come across it will attest to it. But I really believe that care and growth has a substantial contribution to make to the world, beyond, to the whole world. I mean, I really think everybody should know about it. Everybody should kind of supplement their way of working with it. And so at this point, then let me hand over to my dad to explain more about care and growth. Suffice to say that I really love it. And just last thing before my dad gets rolling on explaining care and growth. In the thank you email, we will send you a link to be able to purchase Anna's book on Amazon. So if you are so inclined, please do so, and please read it. We can send you the PDF, but I really think it's great to have a hard copy of a book, to feel the pages and spend some time with it. So anyway, at this point, Daddy, let me hand over to you to just explain a bit about care and growth, and then you can hand over to Anna to walk us through the logic of the book. Thank you so much.
So, folks, this is one of the advantages of this way of doing things. One can really be forgiven for working with a deck of slides. So I mean, I would really just like to say a couple of really big sort of bullet issues that for me are really significant about this book. What we refer to as the care and growth framework, the care and growth thematic, really has a core idea that sits at the heart of the whole proposition. And that idea is that the intent to serve accounts for personal excellence. In other words, almost the success whereby you navigate the problem of being a human being in a human skin. It accounts for the issue of team excellence because it really does account for why and how groups collaborate. It accounts for leadership excellence because it does help one to understand what makes hierarchies tick or fail. And it also then rolls up into the overall success of enterprises. And in this universe of content, the place to cite Anna's book is in the whole idea of team excellence, because it's an exploration of how one cultivates harmony among a group of people, and particularly how one uses Agile as a methodology to enable a group of people. And if you like, borrowing from these two frameworks, both Agile and the care and growth thematic, to sort of advance our understanding. The best insights in the world are always syntheses, eh? And here you have a synthesis between Agile and care and growth that really explores further this core proposition, and that is, how do you develop the intent to collaborate among people? How do you develop the intent to give? Because the intent to give does account for the success of groups. If you think of any team, like a soccer team, for instance, most of the work that happens on the field is not about somebody scoring. It's about somebody trying to set somebody else up to score. In other words, from the point of view of the individual player, what they're saying to their colleague is not, I want to be the star, but I'm quite happy to make you the star. So teams succeed when the members of the team are there to set each other up to succeed. And that being there to set my colleague up to succeed is really, it's an attribute of the personal maturation of the individuals involved. So if you think about how people mature, I mean, if you on the one end, you can speak about an infant. At birth, the infant is here to get nothing, to give nothing at all. Whatever they're going to get, they'll still get. Which means to say, at birth, the infant is here to get unconditionally. And when you die, you give everything unconditionally. So it means, by definition, the process of maturation is concerned with the process of the maturation of the intent of the individual to give unconditionally. That then also affects what the individual finds significant over time. Either my own interests as an individual or the group. So you can see you can track two things that are happening simultaneously. You can first of all track what's happening to the individual, where over a period of time they act less and less as an individual and more as a member of a group. And when you look at the group, then you can see that it is less and less a group of freestanding individuals, and more the group operates as a team. So if you look at how we kind of progress, as the individuals in the group progress along this maturity kind of continuum, the connectivity between the individuals in the group gets bigger and bigger. The individuals start acting less and less as individuals and more as team members. And the group starts to act less and less as just a group of freestanding individuals, and more and more as a united team, where literally the whole is bigger than the sum of the parts. And that's really Anna's key insight. This whole idea of the team having a possibility of being bigger than the sum of its parts. And that possibility really is where she understands the contribution that that Agile makes. Anna's insight is that Agile is a method, is a very clever method for cultivating a spirit of collaboration between teams and between members of a team. And it's that spirit of collaboration, that spirit of being there to set my team member up to succeed, that really is what accounts for successful teams. So, I'd now like to hand the baton over to Anna, because this kind of sums up the essence of what I want to do. So, just citing Anna's book in the whole sort of the overall context of the care and growth idea. Anna, over to you.
Well, thank you both, Assad and Esko, for that very nice introduction. I think you've set the scene for me perfectly. You really have set me up to succeed now. So, let me share my slides then, and I'll do like this. Okay, so a little bit about the book as such now. It's all about the spirit, the core of Agile and care and growth. And like I said, I got a really nice introduction there, so I think I can more or less dive right in. So I will tell you a little bit about my story, how I got into this, what actually made it become a book, and also a little bit about the content of the book. So this book really comes from two big aha moments in my work life. I should rephrase that. This book really comes from two big aha moments in my life, and it happened to happen at work. The first one, as Assad and Esko has both talked about, is when I came across Agile for the first time. And I'm going to tell you a short story that you can also find in the book. And this is a decade ago, and I worked at Ericsson at the time. And before Agile, if I'm sort of being a little bit pointy about it, what we would do if we were running late would be to, rather hope that some other part of the project was also running late, so we wouldn't have to confess. That's where we came from a little bit. And now the part of the project where I was in, we had come to the point where we just couldn't hide away anymore. We were going to have to declare that we were delayed. So with heavy feet, we were walking to this room, this conference room, and our project manager was sort of straightening up, and he said, our part of the project has a delay. And imagine my surprise, without missing a heartbeat, another project leader turns around and says, how can we help? And this was not the way we were used to for things to happen in these days. No secret high-fiving, yes, 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 then that gives us also some more time to complete our parts. Just how can we help? How can we be helpful to you? And what had happened to this sister organization was that they had started their Agile transformation. So this clearly made me very curious. Their mind was set in a new way. So the slide we're looking at right now is a take on Agile that is called Modern Agile. The original Agile comes from 20 years ago, and it was quite deliberate, pointing at software development. So this Modern Agile has kept the gist of it, but aggregated it so it's not limited to software development. And I think it's such a clever thing to do, because Agile is helpful in so many contexts. So you can see the 4 main areas here. Make people awesome. Well, that is very well in line with what we do at Schuitema. Deliver value continuously. You want the fast feedback loops to see that you're on the right track. Make safety a prerequisite. And that is both physical and psychological safety. When people feel safe, it's easier to get that harmony and to help each other succeed. And experiment and learn rapidly. Let's not try to find out how we're going to do things from now on and forever and ever. Let's try something and then evaluate. So these are the 4 sort of cornerstones of modern Agile, or Agile as such. But the big thing that really hooked me was this: how can we help? So I said 2 aha moments, and I'm sure you can guess what the next one was then. That was now 6 years ago, 6.5, when I first heard care and growth. And that was when ETSCO was in Sweden and doing a presentation at Saab. And I was lucky enough to get the hint from my friend and colleague Marianne, who said, Anna, there is something going on in Linköping that I think is interesting for you. Why don't you try to get yourself a seat? And the messages I heard from ETSCO regarding care and growth was so well in line with this. So if Agile comes with how can I help, care and growth brings how can I contribute? What does this situation need from me? And you can see it's really related. It's like 2 hands washing each other. It works really well together. So I was really enlightened and very happy about this. So there's been a lot of thinking and reading from my point, and also writing. I wanted to explain this, and I've written quite a few blog posts on the Schuitema homepage over these years. And finally, there were so many blog posts and so many thoughts around it. So it ended up becoming a book. And that is really where it comes from. So we can say that I really like Agile way of working. The whole idea, the friendliness, the gamifying of how the team structure, the self-organization, all of that. There are so many good things in Agile. In addition, there are also a few question marks, a few gaps that need to be filled. And that is what I have found that care and growth does so nicely. So the type of gaps we're looking at is, for example, the question of accountability, which I sometimes, or quite often, find that we're a little bit at a loss with how to work with accountability. And especially here in Sweden, because in Swedish, which is a language with fewer words, responsibility and accountability is the same word, ansvar. So that makes it a little bit difficult for us to understand this concept. But I found also abroad that accountability is not a straightforward thing. So I think in general, in Agile way of working, the thinking around accountability can be really helpful. Also to the left there, the team development, like ETSCO said in the introduction, when I started working with Schuitema, I came from the Agile world where we see the team as the smallest entity. That is how we work with Agile. I mean, obviously we know that there are people in teams, but all development, all commitment, all of that we have on the team level. And this was a bit of a crash to start with when we started discussing this, Assad and ETSCO and I, where Assad and ETSCO came from the very individual viewpoint. I came from the very team viewpoint. And I think we have now come to understand that both are valid and interdependent. So individuals build teams and teams grow individuals. So this understanding, which we've called the team excellence spiral, like an add-on to the Tuckman team development model, for those who are familiar with that, is also part of the book. And then to the right, that illustration symbolizes leadership. I mentioned that Agile is a lot about strong self-organizing teams, and that can leave Agile leaders, managers, bosses a little bit at a loss. What's our job now? And one thing for sure, a person that has been recruited for their strong leadership drive, you don't want them at a loss because they will start taking direction and do something. So you want to make sure that they can understand what their new role then is. And I think Care and Growth answers that too. Right. Before talking more about the book as such, you know the saying, it takes a village to raise a child? Well, I'd like to complement that with, it takes a crowd to publish a book. And by the way, it takes a year longer than you think. But my crowd, I'm so proud and so thankful to all of you who have helped out with this. And I started by putting this map on this slide because it's an amazing thing that we've done with this collaboration. I mean, you can see where I'm sitting right now, together with Marianne and Marianne, up at the very far north of Sweden. We're so far north, we're almost in Finland. And then we have people along this line, like I said, in France. And we also, I'm sorry, Australia is not on this little cut out piece of the map, but we have people from many places in this call, but also a lot of people in South Africa. And I think this collaboration really has been so helpful. Our different viewpoints, our different angles that we come in with, and the different competences and all that energy. So a few people that I'd like to mention extra who have helped this book to come to where it is. First, Marianne and Marianne, who I'm sitting with here today, for your inspiration and also for Marianne's extensive proofreading of the book. She was quite harsh in her feedback to start with. She said, Anna, really, I don't understand really your red thread, or your golden thread, it is in English here. And I do think you need a metaphor for transactional correctness. So thank you, Marianne. Without that, we wouldn't have had the sunflower. Next is Christer, whom I've also seen on this call. Christer Dahlström, who has done these beautiful illustrations. And I found Christer because he illustrated another book that he's a co-author of about Agile as well. And I contacted him and said, I really like your illustrations. Would you like to do mine too? I don't have much money. What do you say? And he said, okay. So here we are now. And all the illustrations in this PowerPoint are from Christer. And now I've made lots of use of them already.
Oh, nice.
Yes, no, they're lovely. Then we have Anaïs, who has created the book cover, who's also on the call, calling in from France, I believe. And Anaïs, she made several different suggestions for the book cover, the front, the back, this version of the sunflower. We had other versions to choose from, and she has such a good eye for the graphical design and such a big heart when she's helping out with these things. Big thank you, Anaïs. And I know you're doing it in your spare time. Thank you. Then we have Jacques. Now we're moving into South Africa. Jacques, you're also on the call. And Jacques has edited the book. And we had quite a few discussions and some different opinions about stuff. And Jacques had the very good manners of first suggesting things to me, then backing off with the things I didn't like, and then persisting with the things that really should be there. So thank you for that, Jacques. Ronelle, I don't think she's on the call. But Ronelle has done the page setting, and she worked really swiftly and really saw what I wanted to do. As you can see in this little cutout thing I put down here, it's a blue box there, which sort of marks a story. It's a way to get the illustrations in a nice way and combined with a nice one. So she really did a really nice job as well. Then Etzko, it's your turn. And obviously the whole care and growth, I mean, needless to say, the book wouldn't be without you, because we wouldn't have had care and growth. And it's made such a difference in my life. And all your patience. Man, you're fantastically patient. Both when I have new ideas that might be worth considering, and also when I'm sort of barking up the wrong tree, and allowing me time enough to find that out for myself. So thank you. And let's not forget the office crew. You see there Assad to the left and Miriam next to him, Taryn and Mohammed. And you're all been so engaged and enthusiastic was the word I was looking for about this book launch and making all of this possible. And Mohammed getting it up to be able to buy from the homepage, and Taryn getting it to Amazon. And no, thank you guys, really. My darling daughters and extended family, you see there on the picture, Elsa to the left and Elin to the right. I know we have Elin on the call, and Elin has put in a lot of work in the proofreading. And both Elin and Elsa, we've had so many discussions, not just now during writing this book, but all through the years, about leadership, personal development, and when Elsa is involved, also horses. Because you see, there's always a parallel to horses. and this has been immensely valuable. The other day when I was running a team build with a group, I had this bunch of cards that you can use to talk around. And they asked me, so where did you get these cards? And I said, my daughters gave them to me on Mother's Day. And they said, your daughters know you that well? I said, yeah, actually they do. Fantastic, thank you. And then my parents, of course. I dedicated the book to you, and no, you showed me how to trust in people and the world, so thank you. Okay, the book. It has different parts. It has two main parts. The first half, you could say, is about setting the scene, really. Explaining concepts, how things go together, how they connect or don't connect. And you can say that the second part of it is putting it into practice. So setting the scene, putting it into practice, and then there's quite a few of these stories that I showed you in the page layout. And some of the stories are actually blog posts that I have copied into the book, where I think they fit. And my reasoning for having quite a few stories is that you can then also, pick up the book and read one of those sort of independently if you don't want to read it from start to end in one go, and hopefully get some inspiration from that. And then we have this with the comparisons or parallels between Agile and care and growth that I try to have as a theme as well. So it's theory, it's practice, it's stories, and it's these parallels. That is what you'll find in this book. Some of the topics around this then, let me see how we're doing for time. You see, the first go we had at how to set this book launch up, it became a bit of a lecture in the end, and we looked at each other and we said, no, this is too ambitious. It shouldn't be a lecture. But I wanted to show you a few of the topics and show off some of the illustrations. So I picked 8 8 of the topics that we have in this book. And I thought, why not approach these now in an agile manner? One of the bearing ideas in Agile is to work with a prioritized backlog, to be very conscious about what is most important to do, what is the next thing in line, and so on, rather than starting off with everything at the same time or just not getting anything done. So that is how I constructed this. So as it is with any workplace or in life as well, there is no way you're going to have time or room for everything. There is no way we can talk about all these 8 topics. So I thought, let me just organize this as a prioritized list. And I did, and it's the order you see here, with constructing your world as the first thing, leadership next, accountability, the law of 2 feet. And then actually I haven't prepared slides for the next 4 because I'm pretty sure we won't get there. And that is a way to think when you're working in an agile way as well. Don't detail plan too far, because things happen. I mean, one of you might have a question. If I give you a half a second chance to ask one, we might get into a discussion around something that's interesting and important. And if we get there, you know, we'll just continue on the list. So that is, I think, a good agile approach to anything, also a book launch. But let me take that half second breath so that you have a chance to ask some questions, if there are any, around the writing of the book or why it was written or something like that. We have some stuff on the chat already. Good.
Hey, Anna. Jonas here. I would like to know, how big is this book in number of pages?
That is a very good question, Jonas. And so nice to talk to you again. It's 173 pages. I was very deliberate. It must not be more than 200. And it's got a big font and lots of pictures. So actually, knowing you, you read it in 2 hours.
Thank you.
And I really wanted it to be that way, because I find myself that although, you know, you can get impressed with a really heavy book, but it's not that useful to me, at least, because I just never get around to reading it because it's too much respect and too much time invested. So I didn't want to impress people. I rather wanted to be useful.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, there isn't anything else about the book. Yes.
I've got
I
a
have a
question
small
now.
question. Oh, you first. I can take afterwards.
Okay, thank you. I'll go first then. So looking at these 8 things, Anna, I'm liking the part that that asks, should we plan or not plan? So to plan or not to plan. I'm really liking that. Is there a reason that it's the last one and not the first one out of these 8 topics?
No, there's no big reason.
Oh, there's no sequence. Okay.
But I can briefly tell. So we won't really get to that. But the idea, just in a sentence or two, is, I mean, with Agile, there is a bit of misconception that you don't plan anything and you just get things when they happen to be ready. And that is just not true. You know, you do plan in Agile way of working. It's just that we plan in a way that we use something that is called relative estimation. We don't try to say, this is going to take 174.5 hours, because the only thing you know about that is that it's not going to be true. But we can say, this is quite a big thing that is probably going to take this team 2 sprints or 3. So you're trying to, we work with something called t-shirt sizes that is also in the book, small, medium, large. And also, it's very important to understand the good enough concept. And I think that's also useful in life in general. What is the value that we want to deliver here? And when is that value actually in place and the rest is rather gold plating? So you want to get to the right level of planning, and you want to keep your times, and then you rather cut from the bottom of the prioritized backlog, not to have the gold plating there, if I'm being a little bit ironic.
Right. Yeah. Okay, that's useful.
No,
Thank
no
you.
real reason to put it at the bottom. It was just when I was picking some topics. Thanks, Has.
Oh, then I could perhaps ask my question. It's about the accountability part. I saw the videos, and I was very intrigued about giving people like the responsibility and also the accountability for doing their part. I was thinking, how has you, like in Sweden, at least from my experience so far, it's like they avoid conflicts and they try to stay on good terms with each other to a point where perhaps it's damaging. So I was thinking about, have you felt any resistance when trying to teach people to hold people accountable, especially here in Sweden?
Thank you, Pontus. That is such an insightful question. Actually, more a relief, because I think this is something that I would say most people I met struggle with. And so we're quite, in general, we're quite good at the harmony in teams here in Sweden. And the sort of the back of that is that we might not want to be less than nice. We don't want to hold each other accountable. The trick with accountability is to see why you do it. So talking about the core of things, at this point, I'd like to show the next slide. We'll get back to more questions, but to explain Pontus, the answer to Pontus' question, I'd like to show you this first piece about constructing your world, because this is really what it is. And this is, by the way, what really caught my eye with Care and Growth the first time. In every situation we get into, at work, at home, in life, we have a choice to make. You can either see, what can I get out of this situation? What's in it for me? How can I get the best here? Or you can see, how can I contribute in this situation? What does this situation need from me? How can I serve? What can I give? Now, at this point, around half of you might probably think, yeah, right. But if I give and give and give, I'm going to end up being a walkover and people will not take me seriously. I can't just be nice and give. No, giving is not about being nice. It's about being appropriate. There are two ways of giving: with generosity, which is the way of giving that we normally think of. And that is the nice part. You're giving a compliment to someone. You're giving them your time. You're showing them how to do something. You're lending them money. You're helping out in ways like that. That is the one that we normally think of. The other one is to give with courage. But it's still giving, you see. So that's where the accountability comes in. So you're generous enough to make sure that people have the means and ability to do what they need to do. And then you're courageous enough to hold them accountable for it. And when you see that it is a giving, when you're giving someone constructive feedback or saying enough is enough when that is needed, when you see that you do that for the other person's benefit, they need that, then it becomes a lot easier. I have one of the exercises I do with people, I did it with a group, Anna was in the group on Tuesday when we did that. It's called the feedback compass. And then we explore how it feels to give positive feedback, give constructive feedback, receive positive feedback and receive constructive feedback. And when you explore this a little bit, actually it becomes more and more both comfortable and it feels important, more and more important to give the constructive feedback where that is needed, because how is that other person otherwise going to improve and grow? So growth really is a very closely connected to accountability. Accountability is such a key in growth. So when this is explained and practiced, people actually feel relieved, is my experience upon this.
Thank you for the answer. It was really good.
Thank you. I think I'll tag on with
a question from my side here.
Yeah.
Dick here. Yes, getting into that part, I'm quite a bit into leadership at the moment.
Yes.
And my question is a bit, okay, we need to change the leadership, but how much is it then this inner sense making I sometimes talk about? How much do we need that on the leadership level so that they really can change? What do you reflect there? There is something where I'm at the moment. Can they really do it without having this understanding of this taking, giving, their inner sense making to really make this step? Or is this kind of a blocker for them to really change their leadership?
Well, thank you, Dirk. No, that's such an insightful question as well. Man, you all give me such good questions. And I agree with you fully. The understanding of this giver's model, as we call it, is key to move forward. If I may just click to get to the leadership slide, which is next. We have this giver's model as the core of the matter again. And just like we just looked at with generosity and courage, the leadership application of this is that generosity shows itself as care. You care for your subordinates. And the courage shows itself as growth. You help them grow. So the whole model that is called care and growth comes from this understanding that what is needed in a situation is either me acting with generosity or courage, care and growth. And so I agree with you fully, Dirk. You might be able to do, the right movements without understanding this. But that's why I called the book It's All About the Spirit, because you're spot on, Dirk. If you don't get to the spirit of things, it's the same with Agile. I've seen this in several organizations that are doing an Agile transformation. They create the teams, they assign the product owners and other roles. They set up the sprints, they set up all the right things, but then they haven't really understood the spirit of it. So they keep the old structures as well, and it just ends up being very heavy.
Yeah,
So,
this is sometimes where we talk about they do Agile, but not being Agile.
Yes, exactly. You might end up doing Agile. And I think people doing leadership just haven't gotten it either.
Thanks.
I don't see the function of a raising hand. I'm very unused to Zoom. Can I also ask a question? This is very, very inspiring picture that you are putting, and I think we can have a great discussion around it. Because when you say the word take, it's very aggressive word. You take and then you remove from somebody. But if you use the word receive, and then what I feel now, you are giving me your knowledge, and I'm 100% sure that you are so happy of me receiving your giving. Are you with me?
I am. No.
And in that sense, my receiving is my giving to you, and then we have this positive loop.
Yes.
Am I getting it?
You are definitely getting it. So your way of receiving is a giving of generosity, because you're now telling me, thank you, this is valuable to me, and we can have, I really appreciate this. So it's absolutely givers behavior, and we don't want to stop things coming to us. That is how things are. Things do come to us. Life comes to us. That is good. That is great. And the response is a response of generosity, of gratitude. Thank you. So you're spot on, Željka. You're spot on, as usual.
Thank you. Thank you.
Anna, I don't want to just interrupt your timing, but there is a question from Matt R in the chat, whether we share the leadership model with the people that we lead. Matt, would you like to, is that correct? My understanding of your question? It says, do you present your leadership model for the people you lead? That's what he's asking.
Yes. No, absolutely. It doesn't have to be kept in the dark or a secret at all. I mean, I think it's fine to talk about it. It's perfect to talk about it, because then, I mean, we also have the responding thing that we called grow to care. So we have care and growth, and we want the response of grow to care. So if you can have this discussion with the people you lead, 100%, I would go for it. Great question again. Thanks.
Anna, Nirala had her hand up. Yeah.
Oh, Nirala, please.
Yes. Hi. Greetings to everybody, and thank you for bringing this to us. Really insightful, and to see the extension and the growth from the care and growth model and the book that Hector has written. I'm just relating the courage and the growth part to what Hector shared earlier on, which was the maturation model. And I'm thinking how much more growth it takes for us as individuals to work with those who may not be at the level of contribution and giving, who may still be in a space of consuming rather than contributing. So I'm seeing quite a link that courage to give needs to go beyond just giving. You know, it takes courage to have to say something to someone who is not in the same space as others might be. So I just wanted to draw that correlation and what I'm getting from this slide. Thank you.
Thank you, Nirala. And I think you're right. We need to meet people where they are. So someone who's not conscious of the taking and giving and how it works, then we must meet them with generosity, understanding that maybe they don't know, and courage, like you said, when they are behaving in a way that needs that sort of feedback. So absolutely. Thank you. So Miriam, you've helped me keep an eye on the chat, I know. Do we have more questions there?
That was it for now, Anna. I will poke you again once we have more questions.
Yeah, thank you. I was thinking we shouldn't go on and on for too long, but I thought maybe to 10 o'clock perhaps, with questions and answers and these slides, and then we'll sort of wrap it up. And anyone who after that wants to stay and chat, I'm not in a hurry, so that's perfect. But for people to get on with other stuff they need to do. But we did have a question around accountability. So if I may just click and show that as well, I would love to do that. Because accountability is a key to growth. And it is a bit of a hidden key that we haven't, in general, explored so much yet. Do you know the old saying? You can find this in the Bible, you can find it in old Chinese sayings. I'm sure you can find different versions in many places. Give a man a fish, you feed him for a day. Teach a man how to fish and you feed him for a lifetime. We have also a principle, one of the principles in Agile saying, build projects around motivated individuals. Give them the environment and support they need and trust them to get the job done. I agree with both of these quotes, but why is it not enough? What is missing? Now, I've already sort of given this away because we've introduced accountability a bit, but can you see that both in the fishing tail here and in the Agile principle, accountability is left out? So what we're saying is that it's absolutely right. You need to give people the tools and the knowledge, the means and the ability that they need. But then we also need to hold people accountable for what they do. You hold people accountable for what they do. So one very important thing here, which Christer has put here so nicely in the middle, is standard. And I find in corporates and in life that standard is quite often missing. It's actually impossible to know if someone is performing above or below standard if there isn't a standard. So we need to have defined what does good look like. And then when someone is what we call here walking the extra mile, you know, doing extra, that calls for a reward. I mean, that's fine. And a reward could come up in many different shapes. It could be cake for the team. It could be showing what you've done on a learning day. It could be many different things. If someone has done their job and they've done it well, they've done their job. Thank you is a very nice response. I mean, we should thank people for doing a good job. But so I know my brother is listening in and he's a pilot. It always surprises me when people applaud when you pilots land the plane. I mean, what did they expect? I think a thank you is fine, but rewards, that's more for walking the extra mile. So that's still, you know, the easier side of things. So it becomes more challenging for us. It takes courage when we are on the red side of things, when someone is not performing to standard. And then first we have to be very clear about that means and ability are in place. Because trying to hold someone accountable, if they don't have the tools, resources, time, knowledge that is needed, that's just not fair. And that is what we call making the hard mistake. So we need to assure that means and ability are in place. But when means and ability are in place, we need to hold people accountable. And what is said here as careless, that is, you know, a sloppiness. You're just not careful enough. And that has to be highlighted. You have to point out that you see this, it's not okay, please improve. When we're talking about a malevolence, and the best Swedish word I found is illvilja. When someone is quite deliberately not doing well, and I've seen this in workplaces, especially with people who are technically advanced and good, so they are sort of good at their job, but they are just behaving badly, you know, and spreading the wrong vibes, and perhaps also, you know, setting things up to fail. That really mustn't go unpassed. We have to deal with that. That is when accountability really helps the growth. Now, how to hold people accountable in that way, that just depends on so many things. I know if you have the South African take on it, it's a lot harsher than what we would use in Sweden. So being Swedish, I would say, now you're allowed to laugh at the South African office. I would say this requires some really hard feedback, some constructive feedback. I mean, it could lead to dismissal, but that's very seldom here. But you need to grab the occasion to really help people grow. If you don't do that, if you let this malevolent behavior, this careless behavior pass, you will have the equivalence of a rotten apple in a barrel of apples. It will spread. This behavior spreads. It's not fair on everyone else. And it's also not fair on this person because they are allowed to continue misbehaving. So that is what we call the soft mistake. And the soft mistake is actually more common than the hard mistake and worse. So this is a gold mine to learn to work with accountability. So people, I'm lecturing. I said I wouldn't lecture, and here I am lecturing. I'm sorry. It's in my blood. I can't help it. So has raised a hand.
So I have a question at this point, Anna. And I feel like I'm being a bit cheeky here in asking that question because I partially know the answer, but I'm going to ask a question anyway because I think by asking the question, it serves everyone else present in the group as well.
I'm really curious. Now you have to say it.
Yeah, I'll go ahead. So I mean, I suspect most of us in this group today, we're knowledge workers. And as knowledge workers, we're more accustomed to working in environments where things change on a constant basis. We're not working on procedures that are the same day in and day out. We work on innovative things. We work on different things. We work on projects, things like that. So when that happens, when you're immersed in knowledge work and you're working on new and novel things most of the time, does the standard change? Does it need to change? Is in your experience, does the standard then become harder to define because you're in the field of knowledge work as opposed to, let's say, manual labor?
I think the standard has to look differently. You have to think of the standard in a different way. So you're onto something that is important. So I'm not a baker, but let's say I was a baker. The standard for baking would look different from if I am the leader of agile teams who are facing the baker maybe is baking kanelbullar and cakes over and over again, while an agile team is meeting a different kind of challenge every time. You can still have a standard saying that you find the information you need. If you cannot find it, you let us know. But the standard definitely has to look differently. It has to be context specific. Absolutely. Thank you, Has. Jesper.
Thank you, Anna.
Hello, Anna. So I know that you've been studying nonviolent communication a little bit, and I wonder, how do you tie that into these things that you talk about now? Because you talk a lot about labeling people and they're doing bad stuff or they're being good, they're malevolent or stuff like that. They deviate from the standard. And if we take the approach what are the needs of the company and what are the needs of the people and why are they not aligned, then it's not about being bad and it's not about punishing. It's more like, how can we make them realize what they're doing, how it's hurting us, and how can they restore harmony?
No, thank you, Jesper, for pointing that out. It should not be about a person being bad or good. It's behaviors that we are talking about. So maybe I wasn't clear enough on that. Thank you. And also, yes, to make people understand, but we do come to a point, what is put as malevolence here, then the person has understood and they're still not behaving properly. And so in most cases, people want to do the right thing. And then you're absolutely right. We have to discuss and coach. But when people are deliberately misbehaving, we need to hold them accountable for that. And it happens. So again, we've had some interesting discussions within Schuitema on cultural differences and such. And I agree with you. Most people want to do good. This happens quite rarely. But people are a little bit handful. When it happens, I've seen many leaders continue to explain and coach when actually you would need to say, this what you're doing here is not all right. You have to stop that. So yes and no.
I believe that that might be a difference in giving and taking, because then you're trying to take from the person and conform them into what you want. And the giving part might be seeing what is keeping them from doing what you want. And well, then it's actually very much care and growth, I think.
Let's go back to the I wanted to go back to this givers model again. Bear with me. This one. So what I think you're battling with or we are battling with your reasoning here is the intent. And you're absolutely right. We have to make sure that our intent is on the giving side. We're not out there to give harsh feedback to someone for our own enjoyment or for breaking them. We're out there to help them correct something if that is needed. And generosity and care is the base. Like, that is what I hear you say, and I fully agree. And that is what the care and growth model says as well. We need to have the care in place. We need to truly care for the people we lead. Otherwise, we cannot help them grow. So there has to be that care and that trust before any growing will take part, basically. But intent is...
we agree so far.
Sorry?
We agree with each other so far.
So far, so good. But this intent is a very curious and difficult thing. And actually, you cannot trust yourself with your intent, because we're all, not you, but one cannot trust oneself, because we're all very good at explaining to ourselves why we're doing like we do. But I mean, if you have subordinates or if you have children, I mean, that's they will see through and help you show your intent immediately.
I would also like to just say on this that I think it is possible to confront someone in their best interest. And really, that's what care and growth is about. There are times where you need to confront in the interests of the person that you're confronting. But that's the crucial thing. Then when it's done in the interest, then your intent is on the giving side, and it's appropriate. But if you're confronting for the sake of achieving your own end, whatever that might be, you would be here. So, I mean, crucially, what differentiates an instance of confrontation that's giving versus one that's not is the intent of the person who's confronting. Why are you confronting, and for what end?
Thank you.
I'm happy to agree with that. I agree with both the confrontation and the accountability. What I'm questioning is, can punishment ever be care and growth? Because punishment is causing harm to someone because of the error of their ways. If we talk about criminology, we have, what's the word? Retribution as one of the main themes, but an alternative to that is restorative justice. And I think this would be very interesting to explore in care and growth. But I realize that's a discussion for another time, definitely.
Big question, yeah, but interesting, but big question. Yeah.
I think Daddy would like to say something to that.
No, actually, I don't, because Jasper, we need a few flagons of coffee, a nice comfortable lounge in 3 weeks. Because it's actually the situation is more complex than it appears. Because to try and dismiss categorically the issue of punishment out of one's consciousness, I think does violence to the phenomenon of dealing with people. I mean, but on the other hand, you know, if you try and address everything with instruments of torture, that also seems a little bit crude. So it's a more subtle. I mean, your question doesn't point to a bath; it points to an ocean. That requires.
Can we save that for another time? the further discussion on that. And for now, and as far as this book stretches, it's to the point that what you do when you hold someone accountable needs to be in that other person's interest. And I think that is what Jesper was saying as well. And then there are complications around this that would need the large coffee mugs and the comfortable lounge to explore further. Maybe we should do that someday, Jesper.
And we've got a question from Inga. Ingalil.
Ingalil. Hey, Ingalil.
Hello, Anna.
Hi.
Yes, I have a question regarding a little bit tips how you actually can get teams and individuals to be willing to take on accountability. Because for me, it is very much about the willingness to actually be accountable.
I think as a leader, when you really are there to care for and grow your teams, they will feel that and reciprocate. I mirror that. So if you as a leader have a care and growth and giving behavior, it's much easier to get that accountability from teams. But having said that, Ingalil, I've also seen this as cumbersome, and I think you need to start somewhere and show that you will hold accountable, not with a big hammer sort of come down, but rather, ask after things. That's the best trick I know, is when you've asked someone to do something, it's been agreed, then ask how it goes. And I know you know that, Ingalil. I don't, but I think that's a good start. And then to behave yourself in a care and growth manner and have it mirrored over time. So people, I would like to round off the session as such. And then afterwards, I'll be very happy to stay and discuss further. But will you allow me to show you this slide about the book? How to get hold of the book now. Assad mentioned it in the beginning. Actually, we've said, Miriam, that if people send you an email, they will get a free PDF copy of the book.
Yes, Anna.
So any one of you who wants it as a PDF can send Miriam an email. And not to give you any bad conscience in the future, we actually have this view of books that it is fine to spread them. We want these messages to come across, and we've also realized we won't get stupendously rich from the books. So don't feel bad if you forward with this to a friend or a colleague. We're actually quite happy for you too. So you get a PDF copy if you write to Miriam. You can also, like Assad said, get hard copies.
So there's just something, sorry Anna, I'm interrupting. There's just, so from Amazon, you can't get a hard copy. You can only get the Kindle version for now because we're still resizing.
Oh.
But anyone in Europe can get in touch with Anna for the hard copy, and she'll even sign it for you maybe.
Yes.
If she's in the mood.
No, I'll be very happy.
And for the rest of the world, I think just we are happy from South Africa. We're happy to send the hard copy, whoever wants. So Amazon is not selling hard copies. It's only selling the Kindle version. For Europe, delivery of hard copy, we have Anna, and for rest of the world, Mohammed, Karen, and I will send you a hard copy. Unfortunately, it won't be signed because Anna is still in Europe. So
yes. Thank you for that clarification. Do we have any questions around this with the books? If not, I think Assad.
I will be patient and I will wait for my signed copy by Anna and the paper. Okay, excuse the nature. Yes, but I love the paper copies and I want the signature. As simple as that.
Of course.
So I will wait.
Please, may I seek clarity? I just want to know, so if we want to order the book, the hard copy, is it available in South Africa at the moment?
It is, yes.
It is.
It is,
sorry,
yes,
I didn't
Nirali.
get, yes. So we'll get guidance or a link on how to order it. I missed that.
Yes, you'll receive a thank you email with the link, and I've also put the link from the website in the chat box for where to purchase in South Africa.
Okay, lovely, because we may need more than one copies, but thank you for that. Thank you.
So Assad, would you like to wrap it up, please?
Yes, there is one question from Bengt. Who decide if a reaction is harsh, caring response or a punishment? The giver is the receiver or the watchers?
So, do you want to answer yourself, Assad?
Well, I was just going to be inclined to say the giver, but what would your opinion be?
I think there are different experiences of it. I will have my intent, and with that, I will work from that with generosity and courage. The receiver will have their experience. They might experience it as being taken from. I mean, it's entirely possible that the giver, the sender and the receiver have different experiences of the interaction, I'd say. But hopefully we have.
I just wanted to give some fuel to the lounge discussion, because I think,
you thought that was necessary.
Part of the problem is that there are many people involved, and I agree that in a leadership perspective, you must go from your own perspective. If it's a caring reaction I give, or if it's a punishment. But we should be aware of that the receiver might interpret it differently, and the watchers might also interpret it differently. I just wanted to give it some fuel to the future.
Well, I forgive you.
Spice to the masala, yes.
Congratulations on your birthday, Bengt.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
Could I offer a silly anecdote to that question?
Sure, Mohammed, quickly, and then I'll wrap up, yes.
All right. Imagine you see a child running around with a knife. They've just found themselves, like a small toddler, they found a knife. They found themselves a new toy, and they're running around playing with this thing. Your responsibility as an adult is to run over and snatch the knife away from the child, because it's a very dangerous situation. Now, in the eyes of the child, you've just taken their shiny new toy away from them, so they're going to be very upset and they're going to cry. And in the eyes of the observer, there's this dude standing over a screaming child with a knife in their hand. And yet, no matter the circumstances, the right thing to do would be to take the knife. So the most important factor is your intent. Yes, there could be situations where it looks ugly for you, but that's why we put it under courage, because it's about doing the right thing when appropriate.
Thank you so much for that anecdote, Mohammed. It's a very, very on point, and that would also contribute nicely to the lounge discussion. Yes, but I would just, at this point, I would like to take the opportunity to thank you all so much for attending. Anna, you really blew me away. By the way, and Krista, I don't know if you're still in the call. Those illustrations are really good. I really enjoyed them, and
okay,
Anna.
Thanks.
You've really done an amazing job of articulating these ideas. And as I said, the beauty of this book is that care and growth is growing, and it's getting re-articulated to draw new ideas in. So thank you so much for your job on this, and thank you everybody for attending. And please read the book.
Yes, thank you all.
Good. Cheers. Please feel free to hop off the call. Otherwise, Anna, you can hang around if there's anybody who wants to chat to you personally. But,
absolutely.
Good. Thank you so much.
Bye.
Cheers.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Oh, there's it.
Oh, well done. Congratulations. Thank you, Anna.
Thank you, everybody. I'm going to drop off. I know I've got, but thank you so much. And it looks like you guys are going to have a blast. I'm jealous. You guys are going to have such a good time.
So jealous. Congratulations.
Cheers.
Elin is
Elin.
still there. Yes.
Elin, you have to say. You have to say.
Kan du stanna lite, Elin? Undrar Marianne.
Ja, jag stannar. Ja. Här är blommor från dina döttrar.
Nej men tack! Oj vad fint! Dåligt.
Grattis!
Tack snälla. Åh vad fint. Nu är det blommor och presenter och champagne här.
Ja, precis som det ska vara.
Tack snälla.
Jättefint.
Thank you. So my daughter sent flowers via Marianne and Marianne. That's so sweet. Vad fint. Oh,
Jättefint.
did anyone have any more questions? Otherwise I have some celebration to do.
Grattis igen, kör på.
Grattis!
Ja, grattis.
Tusen tack.
Snyggt jobbat Anna!
Tack.
Thank you.
Grattis!
Yeah, that.
Oh, it was a boom!
Hurry up with any questions because we're getting serious here. Tack så mycket.
Jag hade en fråga faktiskt. I don't know if I can do English. I guess it's more here. I had a little question. I was a little curious because you mentioned agile transformation, that you've like been there. I was thinking, in agile transformation, there is it can be a bit chaotic, like people try to be agile and do not become agile. So in this environment of change, how does care and growth work? Like, does it affect the ability to apply these methods?
I think it helps in the way that it can help filling gaps. So in agile transformations, like I said, with leadership, leaders can become a bit confused, and so care and growth can help with that, so that the leaders still feel that they contribute and have a place. I think that would be the major contribution in the actual transformation time, not to have confusion.
Okay.
Also,
okay. Well.
Yeah, that it also gives some more understanding of the experiments, the importance of trying things out. We have a front door, back door metaphor that we work with, and I think that is very helpful also in the transformation context. And it goes hand in hand with agile experiments.
Okay. Okay, well, that's perfect. I will not stop your celebration. Congratulations so much and have a good time now.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And thanks for joining. I hope to see you again.
You too. Take care.
Jacques and Johanna, are you still there? Was there anything you wanted to discuss? Jacques, have a good day. Bye.